He wasn't backstepping on me. I was looking for that. I had his hips against the wall. I had a pin right against the wall. I could hear his ribs cracking because I was compressing his lungs and he was starting to make funny breathing sounds.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm like, dude, that knife's not coming out of the pocket. It's never coming out. I go, I want you to calm down.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to hurt you here. You need to calm down. I said, but this isn't happening.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of looking at me. There was a pause moment, and that's when the cops showed up and tased him. So once again, they didn't come up and go, what's the situation here, boys?
Yeah.
And I would explain it to him. Right? They didn't even give me an opportunity. Shit or gun out, someone could have died. If I would have let him, I could have killed that guy by just opening my hands and letting the blade come out.
That's right.
And then push away. He would have had the knife, she would have shot him.
That's right. That's right.
Instantly.
100%.
That would have been a thing. I seen it all in my head, and I'm like, so I picked him up and I just put him out on the floor.
Yeah.
And, his lungs bounced off the ground. He was done, right?
So when they zapped him, did they zap him first and then you?
No, they zapped. I was here like this.
Yep.
Right? My head was here.
Right.
And they zapped him here. And that went through me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were grounded. And I was like, no. I look at him and I'm holding the blade. And you're fucking tasing me. So I got mad at him. And the cop just looked at me like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
It was funny afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I'm fighting a guy with a blade that's this big.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling at bartenders or bouncers because they're not doing a good job. And I'm yelling at cops. And I'm getting angry now because I'm like, you're all incompetent. All of you.
Yeah.
And she's like this with a gun.
Jesus.
Like I seen it all. Like the lack of
Dangerous.
training.
Dangerous.
I could have kicked the shit out of these two cops and taken their weapons away from them. They're so incompetent.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this going, and this is the people. It's not their fault. They're not getting trained properly.
That's right.
If we could put all the cops in this town in our gym and train them for 8 months, they would act completely different because they'd look for wrist controls and kick ankles out and take people down to knee on bellies and cuff them, and they wouldn't need their guns.
Right. It's still partially their fault for not taking it upon themselves, knowing full
I know
well
a few
the
that do.
situations that they can get.
Some of them even come to our gym.
It's also
It's
the
a lot of
government
work.
and use of force wheel. And
We've talked about this. So in an 8-hour shift, 60 minutes of their shift should be dedicated to their training.
That's right.
Every day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the budget doesn't allow it.
No.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but it's what happens. And I look at that fight, for example. If you call it a fight. The motivation was different, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a self-defense altercation. I injected myself in that one because I wasn't comfortable with walking away.
Cusp of knife fight.
Yeah, there wasn't live blade fighting. The blade was out. It was live, but I wasn't attacked with it. That's because I stopped it, right?
That's right.
Had I had ego at any time and started beaking this guy, I would have been in a knife fight with empty hand against blade.
That's right. Without being able to close.
That's also the most common one. Knife versus knife is not very realistic.
No.
I've had a blade on me and I've seen guys that I'm like, I pull my blade, I was just going to turn into a stabbing event. Guys think that that's the way to go. What I found too is when you have a weapon in your hand, you focus on the weapon. That's the other problem.
That's right.
And we've used that in knife sparring. We use that against the person that's attacking so much they forget about their kickboxing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And even if they're defending the positions with their blade, they don't remember that they have all their other tools. So they tend to tap maybe limbs with the blade, which is a danger for me if I'm facing them. But I can still bait the knife low by faking the kick. Fake the kick and come across it right to the fucking jaw. Boom. And then rush them and push them to the ground. Right? An effective 1-2 combination versus just rushing in with a blade. So you can use your empty hand attacks to actually bait someone because they're so focused on the knife.
Yeah.
I used to do that in weapons class all the time. Show people drills like that.
Yeah.
And they just focus in on the weapon and put the weapon in their hand and they forget about protecting their neck.
Yeah.
You can literally just walk up and grab them by the throat.
Yeah.
Because they're so focused on the blade, they'd be like, whoa, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Because you think I have to follow the rule of respecting the blade.
That's right.
There's the sacrifice piece. If I get past your arm and I grab your throat like this and step behind you in more of a manner like this,
Yeah.
and you're still holding that knife, and as I'm slamming you to the ground, I tear your throat out, you're in trouble.
That's right. You've abandoned all your other options.
You're expecting me to
Because of
go
this.
after this and deal with that, but I might bypass it by just smacking your arm and going straight to your eyes or your throat.
Yeah.
Which bleeds into that no one trains for that because it's not allowed in sport and no one thinks about any of that vital stuff. You don't really think about why is all this stuff not allowed in sport?
Yeah.
Because this is the stuff that will shut someone down fast,
Yeah.
kill you, and cause major problems, and we can't have that in sport.
That's right.
But they forget about that, and even the weapons guys forget about that because they make the weapon versus weapon training. The weapon disarm, the first thing I see with weapon disarm is they get the knife and then they attack with the knife. So in Canada, you don't ever want to do that. I take the blade away from you, me stabbing you.
Yeah.
I'm far better off to take the knife, throw a kick to you, chuck this knife in the lake because we're standing on a bridge and next to the water.
Yeah.
And now the dangerous weapon's out of the equation, and now I'm just going to choke you unconscious and wait for the cops to come.
That's right.
And then I survive the judge.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the problem with self-defense. They don't teach it that way. They teach it, if I get the blade waved, now I stab you and I'm the winner.
Yeah.
You're the winner of this altercation, but you're getting raped in prison for 10 years.
That's right.
Because this kid, his dad was the chief of police.
Yeah.
So he's got money in life.
Yeah.
Comes back to the motivation, right? So anyway, that's just kind of some of the thoughts I've been thinking about with where weapons training has gone for the last 10 to 20 years. It's really degraded. It's been superseded by, like BJJ came up, and then the mixing of MMA and the effectiveness, it just superseded everything because it's so good. It's so awesome. And people love doing it. Everybody can do it. And it doesn't
practice it safely too.
Exactly, and it doesn't carry the negative connotation of weapons and danger. But the problem is I don't think people are looking at reality.
Right.
They're not looking at the reality
And
of the
if they are,
situation.
how are they training it to be realistic?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that
training
you
it
can't
properly?
use that. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't use your MMA skills if you're at some gym to help augment that. But if you look at the riots, you just look at those crowds and the things going on, and some of that live footage from this year of people in the street. And it's pot shot fighting. They run by and they hit a guy and they run and they hit a guy and they run. Your jits isn't going to help you there. There's fucking 8 guys there. What are you going to do? Start grappling one dude?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the right stuff for that scenario.
Yeah.
And you're in your house and the mob shows up and they're going to start burning your house down. You're going to grapple one of them?
Yeah.
Are you going to kickbox any of them? Because the last thing you want to do is run in a wind. There's 15 more. It's the fighting methods that people don't have that skill set for. They don't.
And how do you develop those? You know,
Well,
once you address that question.
Yeah. So
how do we raise that to the highest level?
there's the problem is scenarios are infinite. You can create so many. You can break them down into the more likely stuff. Someone's going to come after you with the more basic weapons, and give people a skill set on how to deal with it. You're never going to cover off every scenario. You're not going to be able to deal with every problem that comes up. But even the mass attack stuff that's been trained in the past and put out there as good information is good. But sometimes you can't abandon your location, right? Because you have the rest of your family still in the building.
Right. That's right.
You got to stay.
Yeah.
There's problems like that fly right in the face of all the techniques and the things that we've typically felt and learned and whatnot. And that's where weapons come into play. The bigger the weapon. That's why the Americans are so big on their guns, to protect their house. Because they know it's ultimate power and they can back somebody off. Because you know when you go through that door, he's got the 12 gauge because he just blew a hole through the wall. You come in here and you're dying, you can hold off 20 people with a 12 gauge. You know what I mean? You're not going to hold them 20 people up with your kickboxing.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to see how deadly it is before they ever even respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to take the first guy out in front of everybody and hope that's scary enough. Sometimes that does work, but yeah, I've been thinking of how that interacts into some of the traditional drills and how to convert them. One of the areas I think that needs to be worked on more is weapons grappling, definitely. From a standpoint of empty hand against the weapon attacker, basic attack, slice, get control, take them down with control, use your standard type of techniques in jiu-jitsu to isolate them, control them, disarm, right? Get rid of the weapon, remove it from the equation, maintain control. I think there's a lot of skill set. I think that'll be one of the frontiers of the world going forward into the future. It's not a developed area.
very well. Tends to get thrown out. I think it'll be an area that a lot of people will eventually put more skill set into. Right? There are some pockets of people that will do some knife fighting on the ground and weapons. Dog Brothers are probably the most predominant ones ever.
Right.
And they've got some really good material.
Yeah.
They're at the leader of the pack and they've spent some time on it. But there's a group of guys that have more weapons training than they would other types of training.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're good in that area. But all these other really skilled wrestlers, jiu-jitsu / MMA mixed type people don't have the weapons side. They've got incredible skill on that side. And I think they'll come up with some things that are contribute and be valuable. Right? You're in a unique situation. You've got experience on the whole gamut. And can see that, okay, there's a lot of stuff will fit into itself. You know, and I think we'll learn through drilling it and working it that certain things work and certain things just aren't worth pursuing, right? Things like that.
Right. A question that comes to mind is, in the training methods, how are you able to simulate as close as possible a situation where you're, say, because we talked about grappling with a knife,
Yes.
where you do bite somebody or you do stick your thumb in somebody's eye? How do you create a realistic response from your training partner?
That's an excellent question. It's one of the ones that I've thought about a lot over time because when we kickbox, we can knock somebody out with boxing gloves on them. We can show the effect. We stop
They can
them.
recover from that.
And
right?
they recover, yeah.
Yeah.
Our goal there is just to stop them.
Right.
We stop them with kicks. We stop them with punches.
You're not blinded.
We strike them. We stop them.
You're not ripping his flesh from
Yeah.
his body.
Jiu-jitsu, we stop them. We make them unconscious. We can see the final result that's good enough.
Yeah.
To end it.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality of real fighting is you can't ever simulate real fighting. You
Right.
can't. Even with a VR helmet in a video game, it's still a video game.
Yeah.
Right? There's still that last piece. I've been in altercations. Even that one in the bar with the knife. You don't know how it's going to go. I'm making stuff up as I go. I'm using the principles and the concepts. And I gain a familiarity. Like when you said I check the boxes off,
Right.
I'm gaining a familiarity through the altercation.
Yeah.
Because I'm checking the boxes off and I'm going, this is familiar,
Yeah.
this is familiar. It didn't go south for me. I stayed dominant through the entire thing.
And you're still using
Right.
foresight
Yeah.
of the boxes. that
Sometimes
could
you don't
come
have that
in order
luxury.
to prevent those.
We do know that if I know for a fact that most people I know don't have a high pain tolerance.
Right.
And their idea of fighting is they're going to square off and throw punches. I know how many punches I can take before I can't go forward. Taken enough punches and felt them. I know what it feels like. I know that I can push through most people's defense to get to their body. Once I'm at their body, I don't think their pain level is going to take my thumb going in their eye socket while I'm holding onto their ear. And my grip pressure is enough that they're going to spend the next 10 to 20 seconds dealing with that. Problem is I have another hand
That's right.
that can either pull their testicles off,
Yeah.
tear their other eye out, deal with the other ear,
Yeah.
smash your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's the thing about real fighting that people don't really train for, and it becomes theoretical, so they throw the baby out with the bathwater. Is if you ever did that to someone in a actual setting, it ends poorly because
Yeah.
you lose students, people freak out,
Yeah.
you've injured
Dealing with
someone.
the legal repercussions.
So they just have to believe it's real. Or train enough where they see it themselves going, yeah, I don't think this guy can continue without eyeballs. I don't think he's going to be that effective.
Yeah.
You still have to get past this to get to that point. Because when this exists, this is your problem.
That's right.
If it's kickboxing, it's a different story.
Yeah.
If you've got good wrestling and you can clinch in, you're now at that stage. You've nullified the kickboxing. The problem for the wrestler is he's never spent the time doing the damage because it's not his thing.
That's right.
Damage happens down there. It's not a self-defense thing for him. Jiu-jitsu people spend tons of time controlling joints, creating a submission and creating a stop.
Yeah.
But they spend almost all of their time avoiding damage on themselves as well as their partner.
Yep.
Because it's their partner. And when they apply their art, whether it be a submission tournament or MMA, they go to a point where the moment there's a pain level that stops the action, everybody stops the action. It's over.
Yeah.
So it's still the same problem. We're doing the same thing. Could I break his knee?
Right.
Can I break his neck? We don't know. We don't know how easy it is for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to effectively break someone's neck.
Right.
Because we don't practice it.
Yeah.
We know the potential's there.
Yeah.
And we know likely we'll kill some people. But we have to assume.
Probably be pretty easy.
Well, that's right, but we don't do it, so we have to take that on faith and know that if it was a real fight and I had to do it because I had my wife over there and she's being attacked, and I can't let this guy get up because if I choke him out, he still gets up again in a matter of seconds.
Yep.
And I don't know how quick that'll be. So I might have to end his life because this guy has a blade and he's about to kill her. And the onus is now on me to finish him and get to that guy. So now I need to literally incapacitate this person, and an arm bar is not going to do that.
Right.
Right?
For sure it's not.
Because we don't know someone's ability to just get up and ignore the fact that their arm's broken.
When adrenaline's kicking,
When adrenaline's going, it's pretty
good.
high. It's good,
Yeah.
right? Even that guy's shoulder I blew out in shooters too. He had a high pain tolerance.
Yep.
I could hear it popping, right?
Protecting them.
The thing is there is a point where you have to do infinite damage to the human body. And it can't be stuff that they can just get up again, because there is a scenario where you have to continue on.
Yeah.
Those are real life altercations. You watch shows like Cold Case Files,
Yeah.
and they go back on all these murders and these scenarios, and you figure out what happened. You hear the stories of what happened. There's a lot of scenarios and stories in there where that happened, where that needed to happen, but the person became a victim and died, where multiple people died.
Right.
You know, and it's like, wow, this is the thing where these people don't know what to do and they just become victims.
Yep.
Right? So there's a lot of that. But it bleeds into how do we train that? And I don't think you ever can. I don't think you ever will be able to. What I think you can what you can train is, so step one is, and we do this the most, is typical number ones in that, but if you're just doing the most common thrust to my body, this is the end of my life. Step one is I gotta get past this threat.
Right.
And if we're trying to train to the ultimate piece, I need to get past this threat, get beyond it, go to the control phase so that I'm not dying from this, and then go to that next phase where I'm doing damage to you as a human being to shut you down. I have two options here. This is the way I see the whole weapons piece. Two options. Either I get rid of this weapon so you don't have it anymore, which we know is a disarm. Even if I'm doing a destruction and I'm damaging your arm, I consider those helpful, but I'm not going to count on it.
Right.
Because you know as well as I do, when you're fighting, people are a lot stronger and slipperier and everything, and there's all the fancy moves, but I might even break the arm, you're still holding that blood.
That's right.
Right? So I either remove it, or I do so much damage to you while I'm controlling you that I shut you down. Now I can't physically do that to you for real. That part gets simulation. But what I can do is I can get to the point where I'm comfortable enough that I can do the control. Now we now know, especially through BJJ, any of the grappling arts, that that's achievable.
Right.
Because we can ride people, balance points, shut down their limbs. We know they're going to go for stuff, but we know what that looks like, either on the back or in the standing.
Right.
I think our biggest threat, there's two threats. I think our biggest threat with standing is we lose control of the weapon arm and they re-engage us. And the second biggest threat with that philosophy or that strategy is you take them down, and through the grappling, through the ground piece, the ground fighting, you lose the control down there as well, and they re-engage you with the knife.
Right.
Which can be just as dangerous. Right?
Yeah.
If you lose your balance and you're up on your back and someone's on top of you with a blade, you know what ground and pound looks like?
Oh.
It's not good. I think I'd rather chance it on my feet because I can move.
That's right.
So I'm concerned about the ways we go to the ground, the controls we use and all that. But there's a piece there I think you can simulate and train and control someone. And it has to be those wrist controls, the Chimera type setups. You're not going to want to go for an armbar with someone with a blade, because now you're pulling them on top of you, and if you're not successful, you've not put yourself in a bad spot. And it needs to be topside dominant. We've talked about all the things we can do in topside dominant, the different positions, the dominant versus the non-dominant positions, right? I think you need to stay in a dominant position but it's got to be a top position
Right.
due to gravity, and your back is not a wise move. Now there's you get put there, and you have to deal with it.
Right.
Side of the training too, right? Which this is what we do on the ground anyway, in all of our stuff. So through that, I think looking at most of the drills that exist for knife fighting, weapon stick fighting, I think they can all be integrated into that type of philosophy of training as a starting point, as the entry piece, right? A lot of the Kali stuff in that, they spend almost their whole time there as if the fight's only going to get there.
Right.
And you don't even see grappling on the Philippine side a lot. There's a lack of that
Sure.
because they don't have that background. None of them are perfect, right? They're missing those pieces. They spend tons of time on their feet because, well, most of the time it's a standing thing. It's not a we're on the ground thing. But we know that even in World War II and all that, there was ground fighting, grappling. It's real fighting. You slip, you're in the mud, you fall down.
Yep.
Guns, blades, everything. It's the whole gamut.
Two guys
Yep.
holding on to one arm.
On one knee,
We're probably
fighting like this, everything's real, but it's not fun and it's not optimum for people,
That's
so
right.
they avoid it.
That's right.
It's not realistic self-defense.
If you're holding on to this,
Yeah, with risk control.
yeah, keeping my hand shut and
Yeah.
2-on-1,
Right.
you're not punching me in the face. We're fairly limited in a few options.
Absolutely.
So ground.
That feeds on to the
situations
drill I want
off.
to do. So I wanted to do a little knife tapping. Focus on primary hand engagement.
Okay.
We'll do a review on the
Nice.
knife tapping. Cover off disarms. And then get into controls. Now the primary control I wanted to work on is the 2-on-1.
Okay.
But not the 2-on-1
Got the
that we
Russian
see.
tie.
wrestling. 2-on-1. This 2-on-1. As a control
Oh.
mechanism.
Okay.
Because just working through, I can infinitely strike with this hand. I can sweep it to the back,
Right.
right? Dealing with the blade, natural
Right.
disarms as you're pulling it, but it also ties it up, and then I can work on my striking here. I can work on eye gouging, anything like that.
Right.
Because I'm relatively safe and I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah. you
Versus
have a
this
chest
2-on-1,
to
I don't like this 2-on-1.
No.
I'll do it.
Right.
We use that as the armbar one.
Right.
I don't think that's that effective against a strong opponent.
Right.
The longer I'm here, the more confidence you get, the more wrestling you do. I'm getting a workout that's not good either, and you have the total access to this hand,
Right.
your feet, and everything. Just 2-on-1 I like for weapons control, because maybe the wall's here and I can grind this knife into the wall and it comes out,
Right.
or whatever. And then also I've also got
Control over my body and my limb.
the stabbing of
And you're keeping
your
that
own.
hand
Yeah,
away
that's
from
right.
me.
And then all the incidental shots are really good with it too. It feeds in from our wrestling, right? I've also got the doing the damage and the break on it there too. And then after the good solid control, now we can go to the ground
Right.
and work our jiu-jitsu type control submission technology while working on the disarms of blades.
Right.
I'd like to see what could be developed out of those standard positions
Yep.
with the mentality of trying to do a disarm at the same time.
Right.
There's a lot there, I think, that
Yeah,
could be
it gives
really
you
brought
lots
up.
of softening
No one works
power.
on that. Yeah. Right? You know, when you work on different lapel chokes and using the gi and the different things, you can also tie that into taking away a weapon. Tying a weapon up so it can't get used by just smothering it.
Right.
Like jacket smothering is
Yeah.
a big thing with a blade,
Huge.
right?
Totally.
And use
Cloak
someone's
and
clothes.
dagger, right?
Well, I used a guy's pocket to smother his blade.
Right.
The entire
Stuck in
time, I used smother technology.
Yeah.
Right? He couldn't get it out again. It was useless to him. I was
Yeah.
this close to his blade
That
the
could
whole
have been
time.
your jacket, right?
So
Like,
yeah,
yes.
that's right. I could have done a wrap and tied him up.
Right.
So that's kind of the 2-on-1's the big one for me that I like to explore.
Okay.
Second would be the Dumog bicep, upper bicep, 2-on-1 bicep
Yep.
control, and then
Yeah, it's been a while. I like that.
that armbar one, right? Because all three of them, these are the biggest ones. So that you got your, because this is your primary, right? Getting a
Yes.
hold of this, and knife tapping gives you this, and then you got your high. This is super high percentage, right?
Control.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is your Dumog one. You lose control of the blade, but this is that third type of phase of fighter where I just blitzkrieg you.
Right.
Right? I'm just
And-
boom, 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 taking your ankle out, and I'm just smashing you into the wall. Maybe I'm throwing you off of the ground, there's a drop there, I'm just firing you and I'm exiting.
Right.
The reason I'm doing it's different.
And you still have good sensitivity over your hip position.
Oh yeah, I
relative to my
pull
arm.
people around really well with that way.
And you can feel me coming
Drag it down that way too,
towards
right?
your hips, right?
And if I slip off and I'm doing that, and I lose control, I still have that exit.
Right.
It's a pretty safe exit. And then that third one, which feeds into these two, is the armbar control.
Oh, yeah.
The rollover armbar control
Yeah.
to get the disarm, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the three I wanted to put in there, do a little bit with that,
Controls on the
feed
arm.
it into it. So let's start with some knife tapping. So
Okay.
you wanted to go through this primarily before we talked about what it looks like. We'll just go 1-0. Empty hand against blade.
Okay.
Let's work our, so the first one we want to work on knife tapping is what we call our primary hand. So that's going to be, ultimately it's going to be your tonsile.
Okay. Wedge.
Your
hand.
wedge or your outside bone. Right? So if you're giving me, just give me just general slow motion, just nice swiping motions, right? I'm going to want to engage that every time with the bone. If I
Right.
stop it solid,
Yeah.
or if I pass it as a parry from boxing,
Right.
right? Everything is just the bone.
That's
If I come in hard, because I'm going to attack the body, it always needs to be that, and it can never be this,
right. This
right?
this
Because there's
does
the
bind
slice,
me. Right. That square angle.
right? So I'm either down,
Square.
body's back down, and I've got that rigid frame, that 110 degree,
Right. Back of the forearm.
back and forearm, or it's elbow up. That's like the Bonsal, right?
Okay.
I use it like this because it's way more powerful.
And it's safe.
Long, yes.
Right.
It's the safest motion. Or it's elbow down,
Right.
and I'm coming in like this, which is going to probably pass it like that.
Right.
That's where the knife tapping stops it because we're bringing the other arm in. But that's our primary dominant hand, right? So a lot of instructors just do hours of this.
Right.
That's your Western boxing. That's your parry,
Right.
right? That's the thing
Footwork.
that keeps you safe to forward.
Torso.
Because this is 90% of it right here. Because that's how I can get to this.
Right.
Right.
Initial.
If it's super fast and it's sloppy and I lose it, I can still attack the arm and get to that.
Right.
So that's your primary.
Okay.
So then as it passes, as it walks across, this arm comes in. So we'll do the knife tapping in 3 pieces. You just get to use your primary only.
Okay.
Right? So I'm just going to
So
swipe
here-
onto your body.
Okay. Do I pass or stop? It doesn't matter.
Just flow with it. Just interact with it,
Okay.
engage it, get a connection,
But don't 45.
and move me along.
I don't want that sliding position.
Yeah, you could.
Oh.
But if you do elbow down, you've got to be ready with the other arm or the footwork. So at this stage, you want to stay back,
Okay.
right? Typically, our primary is going to be the opposite arm, opposite side. This will be your right arm.
Cross
Yeah,
engagement. Okay.
that's right.
And straight engagement.
Because you're going to bring your hip back, right?
Okay.
If you do this, you're going to bring it to me, or I'm going to bring it to myself.
Right. But if I do this.
That's right. It carries it away,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yep.
So there's the difference. Use the left first.
Here.
Right? Just
Oh,
even your
in
hand coming
behind.
down on it,
Gotcha.
right?
Yes.
It's coming in, it's
Right.
just touching you. But if
Right.
you use that arm
Right.
on the same, you interact with it, you can control and pass it, keep your hips back.
Safer wedge.
Because the arc takes it away from you,
Right.
right? So you get it. That's a natural thing that it's like our kickboxing. It's like doing shoulder rolls and slips and stuff. You go slip the wrong way, go right into the punch.
Right.
It's the same thing.
That's right.
You get to
And
learn
relative to my arm, my hips are on this side
Yes.
of my arm, so when I clear, that's on the
So
outside.
your cue, right? This is me. I just get out of the truck and I look at you and I come out. And you see the blade. And the blade's on this side.
Right.
It's that arm, right? I get out of the truck and I go like this, and I'm just exactly.
Right.
That is part of our intellectual fighting and skill building.
Right.
We see that which
Make
side
that
it is.
matchup.
It's no different than shooting. I'm gonna shoot that thing. I don't go like this.
Right.
Target's there, and you got to learn part of it,
Square
right?
up
So you got to pick that piece up. That's your best one. If it doesn't work out and you use the same side, your more advanced knife tapping will pick that up and
Okay.
fix it. But this is level 1. This is your highest level. You pass it, and you strike me with whatever you got,
Right.
because you're in the perfect spot, right? That's total success. It depends what side the knife's coming from. This is where it changes up when it turned back. Right? It's best to use that versus that one.
Right.
Because you carry me away.
And that's right. And I'm on
Right?
the inside
Yeah.
position. You're on the outside.
That arm brings it to you, this one carries it away.
Right.
And that is a microsecond adjustment. The problem when we start using two arms with the knife tapping is you start getting sucked into the drill and pulling it into you, and the control that you get a lot of sensitivity to control. But this is the highest level right here. You do all your blade fights like this, well, you're never getting touched.
Right. What are your thoughts on the amount of follow through?
The three different pressures of knife fighting.
Right. Yeah,
I'm dictating
no
what follow through you
yeah,
use.
That's right.
All you're trying to do is not get cut.
Right.
Now there's the serial killer.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to put the rag over your mouth with the chloroform.
Right.
Not actually trying to kill you because I'm gonna fuck you later.
Right.
Right? It's screwed up. No
Yeah.
one ever likes to talk about that.
But it's real.
Someone has that motivation.
Yep.
That person's easier to defend against because you stop this, and then I stop the knife attack because I'm trying to do something else.
Right.
And now you'll destroy me because I gelled and I solidified.
That's right.
Which is what our wrestling and jiu-jitsu does for us. We
Yeah.
gel them. We do it for them. They don't realize it's happening. We slow them down, and then all of a sudden, oh, why is my leg, my ankle being turned? And they're in a submission. It's the same thing. You put them in that submission.
That
And there's the-
offensive objective wasn't high enough.
Now there's the third one.
Opening.
There's the third one, which is the exact same attack, but as I come in, I'm coming in lots.
Right.
And it's constant and it's rage.
Right.
You have no choice now but to deal with it.
Yeah.
You've got to gain control.
Right.
You got to stop the line of attack and gain control. That's why this one's the most important. This phase of the drill, when you pass it, because it doesn't matter how hard I come in or push.
Right.
You're pushing me off. This is Wing Chun in its
Highest
best,
form.
highest form, because you never let me get the center on. Even if I come in straight, you do the same thing. Even straight, you just have to make a choice, right? If I switch hands, it's always a choice. On your end of it.
Right.
It doesn't matter my pressure.
Right.
We're always just using that elbow and we're putting it out.
And I accidentally used the inside of my forearm.
And it'll happen. That's part of it, right? That's part of knife fighting. I might even cut that
Lack
off.
of training
Now
on
you
my
might
part.
have only the next couple minutes to finish this.
Right. Now I'm bleeding out. Now my hand doesn't work. I can't close
Might
it.
be
I can't
okay.
grapple anymore.
It might be okay, but you gotta be okay with your own blood. You gotta be okay with the scenario. And now there's a clock.
That's right. That's right.
Clock and no ref and judges. So that's receiving it with that primary hand.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do now is we'll put that, I like to teach it as a bonsai. It's this hand
Oh.
is the other arm.
The pass.
So when I bring that in, right, now you're gonna take this bone right here,
Yeah.
drop the fingers to the ground, and kick that in there.
Oh.
Now what you're gonna gain though, leave the tonso in,
Okay.
drop your elbow in. What you're gonna gain is an X block type thing
Right.
that is really solid.
Right.
And what happens is just feel that. Just guide me over to this side with the whole thing.
Okay. The pass.
That's right. Now
Okay.
you'll notice that before this hand was in a tonsal
Okay.
and it became the bonsal.
Okay. I see.
Right? Watch. See how it's palm up, it's
Yeah.
elbow. When someone's coming through here, you want this to be a bit of a blocker, so you're going to drop your knees exactly.
Right.
And as you pass that through, you bend this, you keep it arched, and now you've got a protection there.
Right.
And I'm not out in the open. You're not allowing me to get to you. It's almost force field-ish, and that becomes your tonsal.
Right. Yeah.
So I want you to relax these both and just walk them to the other side.
Okay.